There's a woman in the Bible who went from being rejected to being the first witness to the greatest miracle in history. A woman whom society despised, but whom Jesus chose. Mary Magdalene. This name arouses curiosity around the world. But who was this woman really? What happened between her and Jesus? You'll discover the true story of Mary Magdalene, how Jesus completely changed her life. And at the end, I'll tell you something about her that few people know, a truth that could change how you view the power of Jesus. Get ready to experience a true story of transformation that happened 2,000 years ago, but that still inspires people today. Mary Magdalene. This name appears in all 4 Gospels of the Bible. But why is there so much mystery surrounding this woman? Who was Mary Magdalene? A sinner, a faithful follower of Jesus, or one of the most misunderstood women in biblical history? We know she was from Magdala, a wealthy city on the Sea of Galilee. People fished and sold fish there. Her name indicated her origins. The Bible tells us something important about her. Luke writes that 7 demons came out of her. Luke 8:2. The other Gospels tell us that she saw Jesus die on the cross and then rise again. The mystery of Mary Magdalene isn't just about ancient history. Her story reveals something powerful about God and how He can change a life. But to understand this, we need to separate biblical truth from fabricated stories. For many years, people have confused the true story of Mary Magdalene with other stories. How did this happen to such an important woman in the Bible? For centuries, religious leaders confused Mary Magdalene with other women in the Gospels. They thought she was the sinful woman who washed Jesus' feet, or Mary of Bethany. But the Bible never says this. Imagine the city of Magdala 2,000 years ago. It was a bustling city. Boats arrived laden with fish. Merchants sold their wares in the streets. The noise was constant. Mary Magdalene lived in this city, but she was not happy. She suffered from spiritual problems that no one could solve. The 7 demons Luke mentions were real. They controlled her life. She didn't sleep well. The days were difficult. It was like living in an invisible prison. The people around her didn't understand her suffering, until one day she met a man unlike any other. But Mary Magdalene's secrets were only beginning. What would happen when she met the one who had power over all darkness? There's a moment in life that divides everything into before and after. For Mary Magdalene, this moment had a name: Jesus of Nazareth. What was this encounter like that changed your life forever? The Bible doesn't tell all the details of this first encounter, but we know it was incredible. Jesus didn't judge Mary Magdalene. He didn't reject her like others did. He saw beyond her problems. "Come out of her!" These were perhaps the most important words Mary Magdalene ever heard. Jesus directly confronted the evil spirits tormenting her, not with complicated rituals, but with simple, total authority. What Jesus did for Mary Magdalene was more than healing. It was complete restoration. He didn't just cast out the 7 demons. He restored her dignity, her identity, her hope. Imagine the silence in Mary Magdalene's mind after years of torment. For the first time, she could think clearly. For the first time, she could dream. For the first time, she was free. But this liberation would only be the beginning of a journey that would take her to the highest and lowest moments of her life. The healing Mary Magdalene received went beyond any medicine. Jesus didn't just treat the symptoms. He addressed the root cause and offered complete transformation. The 7 demons Luke mentions represented total spiritual oppression. In the ancient world, the number 7 signified completeness. Mary Magdalene was completely dominated by evil forces, but when Jesus acted, the deliverance was also complete. If you're enjoying this amazing story, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more Bible stories like this. Jesus' power in Mary Magdalene's life didn't stop at the moment of liberation. He continued to change her heart. From a rejected woman, she became one of Jesus' most faithful followers. This woman, transformed by Jesus, discovered something that changed everything. She was valuable to God, not for what she had done, but for what God saw in her, not for her past, but for her future. Mary Magdalene's inner healing was evident in her actions. She was not only freed, she chose to follow the one who had freed her, and this choice would lead her to places no woman of her time dared to go. In a society where women were ignored, Mary Magdalene did something revolutionary. She became a follower of Jesus. What did this mean in such a restrictive culture? Luke 8:13 tells us that Mary Magdalene was one of the women who accompanied Jesus and the 12 apostles, supporting them out of her own means. She was not just a spectator, she was an active participant in Jesus' ministry. As a disciple, Mary Magdalene broke down seemingly impossible social barriers. She traveled with the group of apostles, financially supported the ministry, and learned directly from Jesus. This was unthinkable for a woman at the time. The role of women in the Bible takes on new meaning when we look at Mary Magdalene. She proves that God makes no distinction between men and women when it comes to calling. Jesus saw possibilities in her, not limitations. Her dedication was remarkable. While many followers abandoned Jesus in difficult times, Mary Magdalene remained faithful. She had been personally delivered. She knew exactly who Jesus was and what he could do. But being a disciple of Jesus meant more than just following him. It meant being ready to witness moments that would mark history forever. Mary Magdalene and the Gospels show us something surprising. She wasn't just a distant follower of Jesus. She was always close to the Master's closest apostles. In biblical accounts, her name appears alongside Peter, James, and John. This was no coincidence. It was recognition. Jesus had created a group of disciples in which Mary Magdalene held a special place. During Jesus' 3-year ministry, she witnessed extraordinary miracles. She saw the blind receive sight, the paralyzed walk, the dead come back to life. But for her, the greatest miracle had already happened in her own life. The story of Mary Magdalene in the Gospels portrays a courageous woman. While other disciples hid in dangerous moments, she remained visible, courageous, and present. She was there when Jesus taught the crowds. She was there when he prayed alone. She was there in the good times and the tense times. Her faithfulness was steadfast because her gratitude was deep. But this entire journey as a disciple was preparing Mary Magdalene for the most important moment of her life. A moment that would place her at the center of the greatest news the world has ever received. Friday had been the saddest day in human history. Jesus, their master and savior, had been killed on the cross like a criminal, but Mary Magdalene did not abandon him even in death. While the apostles hid in fear, Mary Magdalene was present at the crucifixion. John 19:25 tells us that she stood near the cross of Jesus. Her loyalty went beyond fear. On Sunday morning before sunrise, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb, not to celebrate the resurrection. She hadn't expected that. It was to anoint Jesus' body with spices in a final act of love. But what she found changed everything. The tomb was empty. The stone had been rolled away. Where was her master's body? John 20:1-18 details this historic moment. Mary Magdalene became the first person to see the resurrected Jesus. It wasn't Peter, the leader of the apostles. It wasn't John, the beloved disciple. It was she, the woman who had been freed from 7 demons, who received the honor of being the first witness to the resurrection. Mary, when Jesus said her name, she knew immediately who he was. Her response, "Teacher." At that moment, Mary Magdalene became the first evangelist in Christian history, receiving the command from Jesus, "Go tell my brothers." From spiritual torment to the first witness of the resurrection, the story of Mary Magdalene is the most powerful proof that no life is beyond repair by God. Jesus' power in Mary Magdalene's life created an example that spans centuries. She became a global symbol that the past does not determine the future when Jesus enters our history. Her faith and transformation inspired generations of people who identified with her journey. How many men and women throughout history have found hope in experiencing her transformation? Mary Magdalene proved that God chooses those rejected by society to accomplish his most important purposes. She had no religious education, social status, or special training, but she had a grateful and faithful heart. Mary Magdalene's impact on the Christian faith is immense. Every time someone says Christ is risen, they are repeating the first declaration she made that Sunday morning. His story teaches us that no matter how deep our darkness, the light of Christ can penetrate any darkness. No matter how broken our lives, the hands of Jesus can restore any heart. 2,000 years have passed, but Mary Magdalene's voice still speaks through the ages. Her biblical story continues to transform lives around the world. Every person who comes from darkness into the light remembers Mary Magdalene's journey. Every restored life reflects the same power Jesus displayed in that woman from Magdala. Mary Magdalene's secrets weren't complicated mysteries. They were simple truths about God's love and his power to transform. Truths that remain as important today as they were in the first century. Mary Magdalene's impact on the Christian faith reminds us that God never gives up on anyone. He has the power to transform victims into victors, prisoners into freedom, the desperate into bearers of hope. Her life invites us to reflect. If Jesus could completely transform Mary Magdalene's life, what can he not do for ours? If he could use a despised woman to be his first evangelist, how can he use you? Mary Magdalene's story ends with one certainty. The same Jesus who freed her, who healed her, who called her by name, is the same Jesus who calls us today. He continues to seek hearts willing to be transformed by his love. Mary Magdalene's journey teaches us that it's never too late to start over. No matter how many problems from the past weigh us down, Jesus has the power to set us free completely. His story is a personal invitation to each of us, an invitation to step out of the darkness and walk in the light, to let Jesus transform our pain into purpose, our shame into glory, our despair into hope. And here's the revelation I promised at the beginning. Mary Magdalene wasn't chosen to be the first witness to the resurrection because of her past. She was chosen precisely because of her journey. God wanted to show the world that his grace is sufficient for the most broken and that his power is best shown in weakness. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment telling us how Mary Magdalene's transformation inspires your own life. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss other biblical stories that can revolutionize your faith. Share this video with someone who needs to know that there is hope, that there is restoration, that there is a Jesus who continues to transform lives today. Remember, the same power that freed Mary Magdalene is available to you. The same love that restored her continues to seek hearts willing to be transformed. The same grace that made her a disciple can make you an instrument of God. May the story of Mary Magdalene be a constant reminder that in Christ there is always hope for a new beginning. There is always the possibility of restoration. There is always a better future waiting for you.